Hi, Dr. Ron England here, and I'm going to do a little bit more work here with Report Builder, kind of help you break the learning curve of Report Builder as we're going through. And I actually got Report Builder up here right now, and I have it connected to a report server here. I'm just going to connect directly to a database. And if you don't go through one of the wizards, this would be the screen, the design screen that you'd see. I haven't got anything connected to it right now, and that is one of the things you have to do. So to get the philosophy of the way any reporting system works is you're going to have to actually connect to a data source. So I'm going to go ahead and add a data source, and I'm going to use I'm going to go ahead and embed this into my report. So this will be a data source, and I'm going to call this Music DB. That's the database that I'm actually using for a lot of the examples. Very simple database, and I'm going to connect to Microsoft SQL Server. So I'm going to have to build this. Now it does take a little bit of time to go ahead and connect to the server. As it connects to the server, this is going to be this data source is going to be where we actually maintain the connection to the database that we're going to be working with. So I'm going to be using this database here where I've got my music database, and select that one. And once I'm done here, I can test the connection. It works fine. You can see that I actually now have a data source. That doesn't actually mean that I have any data that I can use with the report, but I do have a connection to a database where I can get data from. So to actually do anything here, I'm going to go ahead and create a data set too, which will allow me to get stuff from that database. So I have some data sets that are embedded here. I'm going to call this one Musicians, working with musicians here, and I'm going to use the data source of the Music DB. Now, one of the things that I can do is I can go ahead and put a query, create these queries, and use the query editor to do that. One of the things I do, and I actually recommend that you do, is you embed these queries and the things that you need into stored procedures. So I have a stored procedure where I've gone ahead and put all the musicians, a stored procedure that returns all the musicians, and I have that. And you can see that it returns this data set, stored procedure is going to return the artist, album, song, track, and musicians. Now, I want to put this stuff under a report, and I would like to create a report title. I'm going to call this Musicians, a very simple report title. And to do this, I'm going to have to insert. I have a lot of different things that I can insert here, and there's a lot of capability. We're going to cover some basic capability here. I had looked at doing a matrix actually in one of the other lectures, and in this case, I am going to just insert a list. And I'm going to make the list take up as much space as I possibly can within the screen. I'll make the screen a little bit bigger since this does actually take up some room. And this is very simple. All I have to do now, if I want to actually see the results of this stored procedure, which I can, by the way, look at the results of the stored procedure right here. I have it, and if I execute it, I can see the results. And this is just a simple return of the musicians, songs, and albums and artists from the database that I created. So let's come back over to here, and you can see that I've got this. Now, I'm not going to do anything more complex or do a master detail with this example here, but one of the things that you may want to do, and one of the things that you really should do, is look at the concept of actually having a master detail. And what I mean here in a master detail is that, say, for a artist, you may have multiple albums, so you have more information that goes with a specific artist that you may want to say, here's the artist, here's the albums. Or in this case, I could have an album and I could have all the songs, master detail relationship there. Or I could have a song, and each song may have multiple musicians, so I have another layer of master detail here. I'm not going to go into that detail with this. I'm just going to show you how to basically embed a very simplistic report here using, in this case, what I did here is I embedded a list. Not doing anything with numbers, so the charting, engaging, and those don't really make a lot of sense for what we would be doing here. This is simply a report. So I'll take an artist and I'll drag it in here. An album, I'm going to drag it in also with the song. And in this case, I'm just going to have musicians. I'll put them here. And then it's just a matter of putting these where I want them to be. Put that there. The album is relatively long filled. I'm going to make it a little bit larger. Take the song, and so what I'm doing is I'm formatting my report, and this is a little bit tricky moving this around. And then the musicians, now when I wrote the query, I did actually have all the musicians return as a single text file. or as a single varchar that came back. One of the things I also want to do here is I want to make this a little bit smaller because it is going to repeat. And there you go. I've actually created a report here, and I can now run it. And as it runs through and actually gets the information, there it is. Here's my artist, song, artist, album, song, and musicians that go with this, and that's pulled directly from the database. And notice in this case, I did not put the musicians with every single song that I had in the database, and you may want to filter so that it does that. Actually, that would be something that would be recommended, is making sure that your report actually includes exactly the information that you want. But for the practicalities of how we do this, I just wanted to make it relatively straightforward. Now, one of the things that I can do here is, and I'm going to show you this, this concept of parameters, but I'm not going to go into much depth with parameters. I'm going to add another data set here. In this case, I'm going to use a data set again from here, and I'm going to pick a stored procedure that actually has an input. So in this case, I'm going to have this stored procedure musicians for song. And musicians for song does have if you look at the stored procedure, it has an input, which is the song ID, which returns the musicians for that specific song. So if I go to here, now what has happened here is I've actually got a parameter that's been added to here, because this stored procedure here that I brought in as a data set did have an input parameter, which means that it actually has a parameter here. Now watch what happens if I run this again. Okay, now because the parameter's there, it actually has the song ID. It's now a parameterized report. So if I hit 1 and hit view report, it's going to bring in the whole report, because the report actually is designed to do that. It doesn't actually use a parameterized in the reporting itself, but it did actually have this concept that I had to have an input here, which was the song ID. Let's go back to this. And what if I really wanted to put this information in here? Well, I could go over here and I could insert another list into here. And in this list, I may just, list. In the list that I created, I could say, let's put the musician and the instrument here. And if I run this, I'm going to just do a little bit of formatting. Now, if I run this, okay, it's got that parameter in there. And if I put a parameter, a 1, okay, I have the 1 report. And in this case, I only get the 1 report. I don't have any information that really goes with that second report there. And this is one of those things that you really got to get used to the nuances. I do actually have here. See the D. Murray bass guitar, Elton John piano. So the first report runs and gives you the report output, and the second report runs and it gives you the report output. And that is the results of that specific report for that song that I input in there. And the concept here is that this is been parameterized, and that there was a parameter that had to be input. Now, one of the things that you can do in this case is you can look at the expression itself, and I want to go through just a few of the capabilities here. In this case, you can see that the fields musician.value, this actually pulls back from the fields that value of the field musician here. And you have this ability to say, here's you can put built-in fields there. You can put, so you notice that there's a parameter here, and the value that it uses for song ID, and that I actually did input a song ID when I inputted that directly into the report, so that that was in there. In this case, I don't have any variables here. What I really want you to do is get used to this concept of moving around simply within reports. Now, a lot of what you're going to do in Report Builder, you're going to want to learn all the details of how to work with Report Builder from both the manual. I'm not going to be doing a lot of videos on Report Builder that go over every single type of capability of it, but the basic capabilities, this concept of that you have this ability to have parameters, and you can have images. Obviously, reports are going to have images. There's a lot of built-in fields. In this case, I could put like a page name and a page number down here. I do have one built-in field that's actually showing here, which is execution time, which is this built-in field here. I could just as easily delete that. You don't have to show that on a report. But the concept of you have to have a data source, you have specific individual data sets. The data sets can come from queries or from stored procedures or other things that you create that bring the information back into the report, that you have this ability to insert tables, matrices, and lists. We just looked at lists and different types of charts, map, data bars, all these other types of things. And then one of the important ones being subreports, because you may have a report that gives a specific pieces of information, and you may want to embed specific subreports that rely on parameters that are passed to it from the original report. So you have this capability also. So it is a very powerful reporting tool, and it's one of the ones that you have access to. I did brush through a tremendous amount of information very quickly, but I think it's got enough for you to actually break the learning curve of being able to get in here and start working with this. Another one is you might want to start looking also at the report parts. There's a lot of different things in here for you to look at and play with when doing reports. So you will want to spend some time and work with this, especially if you're going to be doing any type of reporting. Hopefully this gets you past kind of the bumps and the hiccups of getting started with reporting. I know that I had another video, some other videos on reporting, and I think this should be enough to get you up and running. Thank you very much. Good programming.